What up, Dolph fans? Y'all see my man over here smiling? He's smiling because we know what we're doing for the draft. And that's all of us, right? It's Miami Sports Music. We're planning something big for the draft, so stay tuned for that. But what I'm talking about today is what our Miami Dolphins doing for the draft. Fins up, y'all. Get ready.
This is a Miami Sports Music Podcast Network production. Be sure to visit us at miamisportsmusic.com/podcast. And be sure to follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at Miami Sports Music. Now sit back, relax on whatever listening device you are on, and enjoy the Miami Sports Music Show.
Alright, so I know what y'all about to say. Wade, why are you so excited? Let me get my mans out the way. Wade, why are you so excited? I'm so excited because we cut Isaiah Wilson. Confusing, right? I know, I get it. I was hyped about Isaiah Wilson a couple days ago. Here's why I'm excited why we cut him. It's not because I didn't think he was a good player. I think he's talented as hell. He's got a little bit of attitude problem, right? So just so y'all know, the official reason why we cut the man is he skipped 2 voluntary workouts, and I know they're voluntary, but he had actually already committed to going to them. He was late to his physical. But shortly after that, there was some stuff that come out. Let's just say gun charges. I don't want to get in deep to it. Let me show y'all the DWA hat while we're doing this. But I'm not excited that we cut him because I don't think he's a good player. I do think he's a good player, and I think he would have been an asset to the team. I'm excited that we cut him because I understand what this means for the draft. So, without further ado, let's get into it. Draft's about 4.5, 5 weeks away. Originally, the plan was to go to Cleveland. I was going to be there along with a lot of Dolphins fans. I don't know for sure if that's happening now. There's a lot of restrictions getting put in place. A lot of the super fans that historically go to the draft ain't going. I don't know the full details, so I don't really want to speak on it. What I will say is I'm never a fan of taking away people's personal choice, but that's as far as it's going to go. So, Isaiah Wilson. Losing Isaiah Wilson to me means one thing, and that's that if we stay put at 3, we draft Panay, whatever you want to call him. Right? And I know I've talked about this before, and everyone, I know you're sick of hearing about it, right? Because people want receivers, people want these playmakers, people want the guys they buy jerseys for. You don't buy jerseys for an offensive lineman. That being said, I do got a Mike Pouncey jersey upstairs. Side topic for a second. If anybody owned the real, like the authentic jerseys back when Reebok was making them, I know we all kind of thought they was whack and like we were hyped for Nike to take over and see what all the new stuff was going to be. I put on my Mike Pouncey authentic Reebok jersey the other day. I was impressed, yo. Like I forgot like how well they fit a husky dude like me. And your boy's 6'2", 215 to 25-ish, depending on how many of these things I have. But I was really impressed with just how well they fit, the durability of them and all. I don't really like Reebok, whatever, but like it brought up a soft spot in my heart, like my man Shula. But way off topic. But so anyway, back to the draft. Y'all can see I'm so excited. I threw the headphones off earlier. I was a little confused as to what Miami was going to do here. You know, there was some open talk. I think Flores even said it openly about, you know, there's a lot of good players in the top 10, you know, kind of hinting at trading back. And I, for one, was personally very on board with trading back. Like, if y'all seen some of these videos here on Miami Sports Music, specifically what we Shula do show, like, we talked a lot about, you know, there was a lot of hype about Devontae Smith early on, how he was overrated. There was a lot of talk about the Watson trade, which, by the way, I ain't trying to beat a dead horse, but was your boy right or was your boy right? Nobody wants Watson now, right? Just making sure. Was it 16 counts or something he's up to? Lawsuits is way too many. I don't know what the real number is, but it's a lot. So, if Miami stays put at 3, they need to draft Panay. I'm very, very, very clear about this. Jamar Chase is great. Kyle Pitts is great. Either one would be a great asset to our team. Micah Parsons is great. It would be a great asset to our team. It's not going to happen. And I'm here to tell you why. So, first things first. Number 1 pick. Trevor Lawrence. Done. It's over. It's a wrap. Urban Meyer, who college football fans may remember, was the longtime Ohio State head coach. He was a head coach at University of Florida, which may be a little more relevant to my people, you know, in Florida, Dolphins fans. But he's all but told us basically that he's drafting our boy Trevor Lawrence. Like he was actually advising Trevor Lawrence on the surgery he got recently. Like it's a wrap. The fact that I'm even talking about this anymore is really just a formality. You guys don't pay that much attention to the college game, right? Like Trevor Lawrence is the new quarterback of the Jacksonville Jaguars. When we go to Jacksonville this year and we win, we're going to be beating Trevor Lawrence. It is what it is. It's a wrap. It's finished. Finito. Number 2. Most people, myself included, believe that the Jets are going to be drafting a quarterback. Why, you ask? Well, when you draft a turnover machine like Sam Darnold, and he proves to be a turnover machine, and injured last year, all these other things, and not, in my opinion, not worthy of the NFL game, at least for where he was drafted, right? Like, you got to think, you gave a guy a shot, you got a new coach, new regime, like all this wonderful stuff. I'm not saying he could never make it somewhere else in the NFL, like other players have done it, but you got to cut the cord for the fan base sake, for all that stuff. So I think the Jets are going to draft a quarterback. Now, most of the mock drafts out there, reputable ones, respectable ones, guys knows what I'm talking about, they think that the Jets are going to draft Wilson out of BYU. Right? The only real 2 options at quarterback there are Justin Fields from Ohio State, Wilson out of BYU. Now, there is a third possibility out there, and this was hinted at recently. This is one of the rumors that came out. So the third possibility is that the Jets hang on to Darnold and draft another player. Now, if they're drafting a non-quarterback player, there is only one player who is worth it in this draft. And when I say this, I truly believe this player is the number 1 prospect. Some people think he's a second prospect, third prospect, whatever. But that guy's Penei Sewell. Let that sink in for a second. The guy we need and want could be a Jet. I'm going to give you all a minute. And he had it. Hoping to win. If the Jets draft Penei Sewell, they drafted Mekhi Becton last year. Mekhi Becton, in my opinion, I thought it was a reach. I thought he was a potential high reward, but really more of a high risk. Think like Eric Flowers, our guy. So when Flowers came in the league as a tackle, he was a turnstile. I mean, the guy got abused. They just ran right by him. He wasn't athletic enough, quick enough. He didn't have the movement in his hips that a lot of tackles need, especially when you play that wide 9. As a guard, he's been great. I thought that was what was going to happen with Mekhi Becton. He's only played 1 year, but so far the kid looks good. You know, I hate to say that about a Jet. You know, I hope all the bad things happen to the Jets and the Jets alone, but it is what it is, right? The dude had a good year as a rookie. If they draft Sewell, they're potentially looking at 2 very good tackles for a very long time. Obviously, you know, we hope they fail miserably, so we don't really want that, but if they draft them at 2, it's kind of outside our control. Now, personally, if it's me, I'm moving on from Darnold. However, the Jets have proven to be one of the most dysfunctional franchises in sports for a very long time. So who knows? I mean, they might reach on whoever and do some crazy dumb stuff. So what I really want to do right now is present to everybody at home the 3 or maybe 4, 5, whatever, we'll go over them, possibilities of what the Dolphins could or should do and why they could or should do it in this draft. Some of these guys are guys I'm not going to be too thrilled if we take, but I'm just going to lay it all out there. Similar to when we drafted my man Ryan Tannehill. Now, I want to be very clear. I appreciate Tannehill. I think Tannehill did the best he could behind a horrible offensive line. I give Tannehill a lot more credit than most Dolphins fans do. But when we drafted Tannehill, I wasn't thrilled. And I wasn't thrilled because I didn't think he could be a good player. I wasn't thrilled because I didn't think he was worth the spot where we drafted him at. If you guys remember, there were 2 quarterbacks drafted ahead of Ryan Tannehill. And there was another guy drafted in, I want to say, the 3rd round that same year, whose names you should all know. So the 2 that went in front of him, I think one might actually still be in the league as a backup somewhere. Other guy's definitely out. Andrew Luck was number 1. Robert Griffin III was number 2. And the Washington, again, I'm calling them Redskins until they have a new name. I actually had this conversation with somebody at the store today. She saw my Shula shirt, a very nice older lady. We had a long conversation about how she grew up in the D.C. area. But until you come up with a new name, y'all the Redskins. So Robert Griffin III was the second quarterback, but actually the second overall player taken in that draft. We drafted Tannehill, of course, and then my guy Russell Wilson went in the 3rd round. Nothing to do with what we're talking about, just a little Dolphins history. So, at number 3, assuming the Jets take a quarterback, hands down the pick needs to be Penei Sewell. And here's why. So, the best players in this draft, not in the quarterback position and not named Penei Sewell, that should go in the top 10, are Kyle Pitts. For you Florida people, I talked about Urban Meyer a little bit ago. Kyle Pitts is the tight end out of Florida. Comparisons to, I know this is a bold statement, but comparisons to like Jimmy Graham in the Saints days or even a Kittle now, the kid can ball. Like, don't get me wrong, the kid can ball. And honestly, he might be the best pass catcher in this draft, period. Like, wherever he goes, I'm going to watch his career with great intent. I think it's going to be really fun. That being said, the next guy is probably Jamar Chase. Jamar Chase is the top of the receiver class. For those of you guys growing about receiver, it's Chase. Now, Chase is 6 foot tall. He's not a huge guy, but he's got everything you could want from a receiver. Hands, route running. He's not the fastest guy in the world, but he's quick. He's physical. Like, he's the best receiver in his class. Another guy whose career I'm going to watch with, great intensity. So let's talk about how the first round's really going to break out. So, assuming we don't take Sewell at 3, and we stay put at 3, and the Jets take a quarterback, the next best players in this draft are the 2 I just mentioned, and a guy named Micah Parsons. Now, you guys have heard me drool about Parsons before if you pay attention to all these videos, and the kid just blew away his pro day at Penn State today. I mean, the kid's a baller. There's some off-the-field stuff, but it's not the kind of off-the-field stuff we're used to hearing about from some of these players. It's not like he's getting in legal trouble. He's not messing around with girls or drugs or performance-enhancing stuff or none of this stuff. He's just kind of an asshole, He is a smaller guy at the NFL level, so maybe that kind of clears up real quick when he gets in a locker room full of grown men like Christian Wilkins, but who knows? But here's why we're not going to draft any of the people I just mentioned. So first and foremost, Micah Parsons. If you look at what the Dolphins have done over the last few, I'll say week and a half-ish, whatever. The trade for McKinney, we signed a bunch of linebackers, like Beagle's coming back. Of course, our boy Van Ginkel's there always. We just signed Elan Roberts again. I want to say it was either this morning or yesterday. So Miami has made a conservative effort to shore up the linebacking core. And they've done it by bringing in a lot of people who are going to compete for jobs. Now, most notably, when I say linebacker, you guys probably think of our number 1 guy, Jerome Baker. I love Baker, Ohio State guy. Problem here is that Baker's on the last year of his contract, and we've done nothing to bring him back. As you may remember, we had another Ohio State linebacker on our team who we traded last year as we were going into the season, Raekwon McMillan. Raekwon went to the Raiders, finished up the season, and is now, can't believe I'm saying this out loud, he's now a New England Patriot. While we're talking about Miami sports music, I remember me and my boy Solo D riding up the escalator for the preseason game, Raekwon McMillan's rookie year, where he tore his ACL during the opening kickoff. We were still sitting on the escalator trying to get to our seats, man. Sad stuff. I look, best of luck to the kid, not New England, no. I hope he finishes the year up there, goes somewhere else, whatever. But anyway, the fact that we haven't signed Jerome Baker yet, number 1, I think is something we need to do. But number 2, it could point to us potentially trying to draft a guy like Parsons and maybe move on from Baker. If we trade Baker or something like that before the draft, then Parsons the guy, 100%. I don't think that's going to happen. I hope it doesn't happen. Not that I don't want Parsons on the team. I think Parsons can be a stud in the NFL level. I think he's going to be the next Kuechly. But I like my boy Baker, bro. I want to keep him. Last name Baker. Where's my mama? Shout out to Jerome. So the next thing, receiver. Almost identical. Like, I think we have, and I could be wrong here, we have 10 or 11 linebackers in the roster, and I think 11 receivers right now, and actually 12 if you count, I think Malcolm Perry is technically listed as a running back / receiver, so I think we actually have 12 receivers on the roster right now. So you think about Parker, Preston Williams, Will Fuller, those would be the 3, not in that order, of course. Parker, Fuller probably number 2, Williams number 3. Fuller recently said so he wants to prove it to the NFL and the Miami Dolphins that he's worth the money. So here's hoping Fuller balls out. We already signed him, and we got him and Parker running it. Anyway, Parker, Fuller, Preston Williams, Jakeem Grant. I know. Rough year last year. Don't hate me. I'm just listing names. After that, we got a bunch of guys: Albert Wilson, Alan Hearns, Lynn Bowden, Reuben Foster, the Tua guy we just signed. I mean, we brought back Matt Collins. Like, we did a couple guys, right? And I know what you're saying. Like, hey, all these guys might not make the roster. A lot of these guys aren't true number one guys. Like, I get that. The point I'm trying to make here is we have, I think, 10 linebackers on roster and 11 or 12, how you look at it, receivers. You don't bring in and sign all these guys just so you can turn around and spend the number 3 overall pick on a guy at their positions. You do it because you're not interested. It is what it is. Like, it's a numbers game. You do it because you're not interested in addressing one of those positions at the top of the draft. So what are we going to address? Well, let's move on a little bit. I mentioned Kyle Pitts. Now, Kyle Pitts is an enigma because tight ends typically don't go super high. Some of the exceptions to the rule recently have been like a TJ Hawkinson or even a Noah Fant in the first round. But if you look last year, and somebody look this up, and please flame me in the comments if I'm wrong about this, but I believe the number 1 tight end to come out last year was Cole Kmet out of Notre Dame. I think he went in the mid-second round, give or take. It's not often that these elite guys come out like this. They're even considering, being talked about in the top 10, let alone the top 5. And Kyle Pitts, after his pro day, has recently floated into some of the conversations of teams like Atlanta, Philly, Miami, I mean, even Detroit, which they already had TJ Hawkinson. But don't rule it out because Dan Campbell was a tight end in the NFL, so he might be looking to load up in the position, especially because they don't have no receivers right now. But anyway, to get back to kind of how this is going to play out. So the only option other than Sewell at 3 is nobody. It doesn't make sense. So if Miami's picking at 3, and Penei Sewell was there, it has to be Penei Sewell. It just does. Period. So now that we're about halfway through this 30 minutes, I want to break down how some of these other scenarios can come out for you guys. So scenario number 2. The New York football, Jets, I don't even want to say the word anymore. Take Penei Sewell at 2 and decide to run with Sam Darnold. While that's bad for Miami in the way that, hey, they could have 2 really good tackles for a long time, it's good for Miami in this sense. That raises the value of the number 3 pick. It goes Jim Cramer through the roof. Bye, right? It like Bitcoin a month ago, whatever it was. So, if Miami's looking to trade that number 3 pick, they're never going to get more value for it than they do if the Jets take Penei Sewell. Because that means any team that wants their choice of quarterbacks can move up. And those teams that are still in the top couple picks could be not Atlanta at 4, not Cincinnati at 5. It could be Philly at 6. A lot of people think Philly could trade up or even stay put and try to take a quarterback. Now, personally, as a kid from Philly, I got a Liberty Bell tattoo on this arm right now. You can't see under the What Would Shula Do shirt, which are available right now on our website, by the way, on our Etsy page. I don't think it's a smart move. I actually like what I saw from Jalen Hurts in a few games I watched last year. But whatever, I don't run a team, man. So again, it's a new regime there, too. You never know what's up. But Philly at 6 could be interested in taking a quarterback. Now, if they're interested in taking a quarterback, they got 2 choices. Either sit there and take who's available, or trade it with Miami, hoping that no one else does. And that same kind of mindset is going to apply to the next couple teams I'll talk about. So the next one is Detroit at 7. A lot of people are talking about Detroit doing this. I don't see it happening. A couple reasons. Number 1, I think Jared Goff is a better quarterback than a lot of people give him credit for. I'm not going to go into it. Like, we'll see what kind of success he has out there. He doesn't really have many weapons in Detroit right now. But you got to remember, part of that Jared Goff trade was they also loaded up on a bunch of other first-round picks from the Rams. Not this year, but next year and the year after. So they're going to have the ammunition if they want to try to give Goff a shot and it doesn't work, to get a quarterback later. And also, they have just way too many holes to be trying to upgrade over Jared Goff right now. So I don't see it happening. The next 2 teams are 2 teams that have been linked extremely heavily to quarterbacks, right? So at 8, the Carolina Panthers. Now, here's the Panthers situation, for those of you not really familiar with what's going on around the league. They have DJ Moore, who in my opinion is a true number 1 receiver. I love the kid. I think he's a baller. They have Robbie Anderson, who used to play for a rival. He's picking number 2. Now, I don't like Robbie Anderson. I don't think he's anything special. However, as a number 2 receiver whose kind of job is to stretch the field, the kid performed last year. I can't take that away from him. As much as I don't like him, as much as I don't like his stupid haircut, like, They kickballed out. And then you should all know Christian McCaffrey. If y'all don't know, I'm in Denver, right, where his dad, Ed McCaffrey, was a star. I watched him win the Super Bowl here. He, not here, but I watched him win the Super Bowl in the 90s. He was an undrafted, Rod Smith, the guy that played across from him, was undrafted. They live in a small town called Castle Rock, just south of Denver. Following the family, I've heard nothing but good things from the people that know him. But Christian McCaffrey is a star. All right, so they have a lot of good offensive pieces. Their defense, I mean, it's young. It's not great. However, they got some good pieces. Jeremy Chin was a stud last year. He was in the running for Defensive Rookie of the Year, in my opinion. Their offensive line has Derek Brown, Edor Gross-Matos, and Brian Burns on it. 3 stud young players. Derek Brown and Edor Gross-Matos have only played 1 year in the league. Brian Burns has played 2. They're probably a good fit for Parsons, if we're being honest right now, to replace the whole left and Keithley retired a couple years ago. But Teddy Bridgewater's their quarterback. Teddy Bridgewater's not good. He never was. I've told this to people 100 times over. I wanted to fight Dolphins fans. They wanted to get him. Teddy Bridgewater's not good. He signed a 3-year contract worth roughly $20 million a year with the Panthers. He already played 1 year of that contract. $20 million a year is not an astronomical number for a quarterback, and they could move on from that contract very easily after this year. So they're a team that has been linked to trying to upgrade from Bridgewater this offseason. They're a very heavy candidate to draft a quarterback. And if a guy like Wilson or Fields, whichever one they're in love with, whichever one the New York football, the team we don't like, whatever one they don't take, is on the board, they might be willing to offer, what we're looking for to move up. And to be clear, I would love a first-round pick, potentially more, or maybe even a pair of seconds, just because of the fact that some of these teams draft so early in the second round this year. Preferably a first-round pick. We can get into all that as we get closer to the draft, but we're just kind of laying out some scenarios right now based on what the word is with where teams are at with free agency and all that stuff. The next team picks a number 9, and that's the Denver Broncos. So I just mentioned the Broncos, referenced Ed McCaffrey a couple minutes ago. I do live in Denver. Heads up, it's beautiful out here. If y'all want to come visit, we got a nice little Dolphin fan club. We'll set y'all up. So the Broncos are kind of an enigma, and here's what I mean by that. So their secondary was horrible. They signed 2 corners and gave them both 1-year deals. So they could both be going after this year, depending on how they play. A lot of teams gave out 1-year deals this year because of the limited salary cap. But they've invested so heavily on offense in the last few years, and it really hasn't got them where they want to be. So, last year, right, they drafted Jerry Jeudy very high. I think he was 13 overall. Somebody correct me in the comments here if I'm wrong. They brought in Melvin Gordon. They drafted KJ Hamler at the top of the second round, a Penn State kid. I mentioned Micah Parsons and Edor Gross-Matos already. Y'all know I was hyping on Allen Robinson. There's a lot of Penn State names flying around. I'm a Philly guy originally. I mean, they drafted Noah Fant, Cortland Sutton in the first round the last couple of years. Their quarterback right now is Drew Lock. So Drew Lock has 2 seasons under his belt. He was a guy I was really intrigued with coming into the league. I really was. The kid had a cannon of an arm. He seemed to be growing as he played every game in college, and he honestly seems like a little bit in the NFL. But I said this last year to a couple people out here in Colorado, with all the resources that they invested around him, you got Noah Fant, arguably a top 10 tight end in the league, even though he's only been in a couple of years. Cortland Sutton is not amazing or anything like that, but they did spend a first-round pick on a receiver. Jerry Jeudy was maybe the best route runner in the draft last year. KJ Hamler is a very underrated weapon. They have Juwan James on the line they signed from us. Garrett Bowles played very well for them last year. They actually I want to say Philip Lindsay's actually gone from there now, so Melvin Gordon's going to be their real number 1. Even that was kind of an investment last year. So their offense sucks. There's only one guy to blame after all that, it's Locke. So I think they're looking at moving on. And strangely enough, for whatever reason in my brain, I'm really locked in on I think Trey Lance would be a great quarterback for the Broncos. So Trey Lance, for those of you who don't know, North Dakota. I'm tripping. North Dakota guy. So Lance only played 1 game this year. North Dakota pretty much set up this 1 game during the whole COVID thing, so he would have a chance to kind of showcase himself. And honestly, he kind of underwhelmed a little bit. He had a crazy season numbers-wise last year, and of course the big knock on him because he plays in North Dakota is he didn't play in the SEC or the ACC. What's his competition really like? But the kid's just fun to watch, man. I don't know, wherever he goes, I hope he's successful. Whether it's Denver or whatever. But hey, shout out to Trey Lance. But anyway, so they could be a team that is really willing to give something up, to move up, right, to 3. And by the way, I'm going to tell you all in a minute why I'm going through these teams specifically. Now, that's going to really be the last team in the top 10 because the Giants and Cowboys are the teams to pick after that. But there's one team outside of the top 10 that has just been rambling around in my head like Pac-Man or something, like a pinball machine. And I know what y'all going to say. Y'all don't want to go outside of the top 10. We're picking number 3. 10's already 4 to go. Just hear me out here. So the last team is the San Francisco 49ers. Go ahead and look up where they pick. Go to Tankathon right now. So San Francisco picks 12. Now, why am I talking about the San Francisco 49ers at 12? Their team doesn't really know what they're doing. They don't know their identity. Here's why I say that. The season before this one, they lost the Super Bowl. Now, I firmly believe they lost the Super Bowl because of one defining moment. There was a pass. I want to say it was Jimmy Garoppolo to, I want to say it was Emmanuel Sanders, where the receiver, if it was Sanders, was streaking to the end zone. By the way, Sanders is a Bill now. We should keep an eye on that. So Sanders is streaking to the end zone, fly route. He beat the defender, and Garoppolo just overthrew the ball. If you go back and watch the rest of that game, that was the switch. Like, that moment took the momentum from one side and flung it to the other, and the Chiefs walked away with the rest of the game. So, I'm a big believer in defense wins championships, and it's funny, I talked to a friend of mine recently who's a little more experienced than me, if you know what I'm saying, a little more gray in it. And the funny thing is, what he said to me was there's one time in history where an offensive team won the Super Bowl based on their offense, and that was it. If you look at what happened to them this year, granted, they were without Nick Bosa, but they took a huge step back. And they took a huge step back as the Super Bowl losing team tends to do. Now, personally, I think the biggest piece was they traded away DeForest Buckner, who may be the second best defensive tackle in the NFL. Of course, the best is my main man, Aaron Donald, best player in the NFL, period. If anyone wants to argue with that, holla at your boy. The man's a monster. He's a man among children. But the Niners took a massive step back last year. Their secondary, they actually ended up re-signing Jason Verrett, who took a very long time to step up the way I thought he always could when I've been a fan of him. Sherman's gone. So Sherman, for those you don't know that pay attention to it that much, like the defensive guy, he kind of made like a little resurrection, in San Fran. Not this season, but the year before that. He was very, very good as a Seahawk, and he kind of disappeared and then came back and was just balling for San Fran. Not this season, but the year before. This year, not so much. So San Fran's going through a lot of transition. They got a lot of young receivers. The O-line's getting old. They just made Trent Williams the highest paid O-lineman ever. I wanted Trent Williams last year in the trade. They gave up very little to get him because he was old and he had cancer on the head thing, whatever. But that being said, I think they're a team that's willing to give it all up to try to roll the dice on a quarterback. I think they're over Garoppolo. They might be able to ship him somewhere after the draft for a mid-round pick or something. But if we could fleece them in a trade, if we could walk away with their first this year, their first next year, maybe something else, another second or some more ammo, whatever, I'm willing to do it. And here's why. When you break down what these teams need versus what we need, after all the moves we made, it becomes very clear. The positions we need to upgrade that we have not addressed so far in free agency are free safety, strong safety, for sure. You guys have heard me talk about that a billion times. We addressed it in free agency, but let's be real. The interior of our line, specifically our center, I'm worried about. Our running back position, I'm worried about. And our defensive ends. Have you looked at our defensive end? There's 4 on the roster. 4. One is named Emmanuel Ogbah. I dare y'all to give me the other 3 names. Can't. 3 of them, everyone not named Emmanuel Ogbah, are guys that have never proven himself to be an NFL caliber player. And I still have hope for Jason Strowbridge. He was a rookie last year. Jason, if you're out there, brother, we got you back, bro. I can't wait to see you get on the field some more, get some more snaps. But let's be real. We can't walk into a season like that. And the thing that scares the hell out of me is that means maybe we reach for Jalen Phillips or Gregory Rosario. And I know there's a lot of you fans out here. I know I'm about to hear it because I'm making fun of you boys. It's just, look, there are more proven players at positions that we need. And I'm comfortable in a 3-4 running into the season with Raekwon and Christian Wilkins on the field as much as possible, and we'll figure the rest out. We'll put Van Ginkel with a hand down. We'll put Shula on the field more. Butler be on the field from the guy we just signed from New England. But look, like, there's a guy. I'm just going to say it. There's a guy who could potentially be there at any of the spots we trade back to who would be an asset to our team. So think about this for a second. Quarterback number 1, Trevor Lawrence, hands down. And again, in this scenario, the Jets are taking Sewell. So we're trading back from 3. So whoever trades up to 3 is going to go quarterback, right? They're going to take the second guy. Let's just say it's Wilson. At 4, you got the Falcons. The Falcons are all over the place, bro. Nobody knows, man. They might take Kyle Pitts. They might take Patrick Surtain Jr. I know Dolphins fans are going to get mad at that. They might take one of the DNs. They might take, pretty much the only thing we know they're not doing is taking a receiver. We know that, but the Bengals, if he's there, the Bengals are going to take Jamar Chase. I'm calling it now. I've said it a bunch of times. Like, he played with Burrow. They need a receiver. Like, it's a match made in heaven. They let AJ Green walk. Jamar Chase mixed with Tyler Boyd. And hey, they might take Kyle Pitts. I can see it. I think the Lions or Panthers. Oh, I already said the Panthers take quarterback. The Lions. If I'm them, I'm taking Michael Parsons. They need a captain on defense. They need a tough guy. Like, that's what Campbell is. But if you scroll through these teams, I already said what I think the Broncos are going to do. After that, you have the Cowboys and the Giants. And this is where it gets a little squirrely because the Cowboys need so much defensive help. The only thing they have good is linebackers. Like, their secondary needs help, but Caleb Farley could make sense here. Caleb Farley, I should say. There's a lot of things they can do with the Giants, I truly believe, at this point, depending on what the Eagles do. If the Bengals take a receiver and the Eagles take a receiver, the Giants are going to try to get their hands on the last receiver available, whether it's Jalen Waddle, Devontae Smith, Jamar. It's not going to be Jamar Chase, but if it was Jamar Chase. If that puts us there at 12, there's a guy named Rashawn Slater. So Rashawn Slater played at Northwestern. I know it's not the biggest school in the world, but actually go watch his tape. The kid played tackle. He played guard. Now, I think he's a little undersized to be a tackle in the NFL, but he also played center. And that's what we need. We need to replace Mike Pouncey because we never did. We brought in these guys for a year, like we did Ked Karras last year, Matt I can't say his name now. I suck at it. Skura, whatever his name is. Matt! Hey, Matt, I hope you ball, bro. I just don't see it happening. But Rashawn Slater, I think, is the guy. So, if we can't get our hands on Sewell, I think what we really need to do as of right now there could be a lot of moves between now and draft day, but what would Shula do? Shula would trade back, he'd load up on some ammo, and he would draft Rashawn Slater to be our day 1 starter or center. We can get to pick 18 later. Thanks, guys. Check out Miami Sports Music. Check out the What Would Shula Do page on the link below. Grab some gear. Get ready for draft day. The Miami Sports Music DWA Gear is on sale on the website. Check out our partners over here in the podcast network, Dudley Do Wrong. Check out the TV Fins Talk. Check out the writers over there at 305 Sports. Check out my man Jamie. Like, check it all out, bro. Share the love. We got a little over 4 weeks till draft day. Brush up. Get ready. Let's do this, man. I'm hyped. I don't know for sure if we're going to be in Cleveland yet, but I know we're sure going to do something on the Miami Sports Music website. So if you ain't already got it, mark your calendars, April 29th, Thursday night. We're going to be out here doing good things.